Hi, I'm Tim Kane, the entertainment editor at the Herald and Review, and I'm at my desk. There is a woman online who is blogging based on the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. And her website is 1001 Albums, 1001albums.com. What the backstory is, she's a woman who says that she's not real familiar with a lot of music. So she's taken the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die, and she's going through and listening to the albums one by one every day. And then she's blogging about her reactions to the album. Recently, she got to one of the albums I was really interested in finding out what her reaction was. It was by a band called The Residents. And the album is Buster and Glenn Duckstab. And I don't think that's the best album by The Residents. I think there's probably 3 or 4 that would be better, starting with The Third Reich and Roll. The commercial album is really good. The King and I, God in Three Persons. Yeah, you don't know any of these, do you? And I don't expect you to. If there are 500 people who end up watching this thing, if 5 of them have heard of The Residents, not heard the music, but have heard of them, I would be stunned. So what does that make me? Does that make me a music elitist? Does that make me a music snob? You know, I would argue no, even though I'm a really big fan of The Residents, because I don't necessarily consider what The Residents do to be music. Music is a part of what they do, but it's also performance art. They do film, they've done computer games, they do art. Their very existence is art. They are 4 guys from Louisiana who moved to California in the early 70s and began recording what would best be called experimental music. They sent out a lot of tapes to different record companies, never got signed, started putting out albums on their own record company. Very limited appeal. You know, there are pieces that I have in my collection that are limited editions of 100. Many more that are limited editions between 1,000 and 5,000. So that's the kind of narrow focus that we're talking about. This was a group whose history was so interesting that after they'd been together for 15 or 20 years, they were actually able to sell books that talked about their history. I mean, to me, this is fascinating. And there are 4 guys, and we've never discerned what their individual identities are, because their feeling is, we don't want people to know us as individuals. We are a group. We are a unit. So they appear dressed in public in strange fashion, often in tuxedos with what is best described as eyeball heads, eyeball mask heads. It's largely electronic music, largely experimental. It works within the pop idiom, and that's the stuff that, for me, works the best for them when they stand pop music on its head. Third Reich and Roll contains their versions of about 30 different pop songs, including Land of a Thousand Dances, Boney Maroney, Hey Jude, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, Hanky Panky. It's just odd. It doesn't sound like anything you've heard before. One of the ways I've described it is, it's like a tribal sound of a group of people who do not speak English, and they're trying to approximate with what is at their disposal the sounds that they're hearing coming out of an AM radio in 1967 or thereabouts. Doesn't sound real interesting, does it? Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Well, that's what Liz thought. Liz described it as the soundtrack to nightmares, and I think she said something like she hates Neil Young, but she'd listen to 100 Neil Young albums before she'd listen to The Residents ever again. She ranks all the albums that she listens to on a 1 to 5 star system. She gave The Residents minus 50 stars. And I wasn't surprised at all. I'm surprised, and it's to her credit, that she was able to get through all of it. Again, sometimes art is something that can challenge us. And some people rise to challenge, some people don't want to or can't. Doesn't mean one side is right, the other side's wrong. But what I'm glad for is that you've got a group of people like the residents who have been out there working for 35 years and been able to pursue their vision of art. And they've found an audience, however limited. And I'm glad that I'm part of it, because it makes me smile, it makes my life better, and I really like looking at the looks on people's faces when they see and hear some of this stuff. So fire away those angry emails and tell me that this isn't music, and I'll just laugh and say, I'm vastly amused that I got you to take a look at it, and now you know who the residents are. I'm Tim Kane, I'm at my desk.